I died choking on my own blood in a rain-slicked alley behind a dive bar in Wicker Park. The kind of place where dreams go to drown in cheap whiskey. My father's hunting knife, the one he'd left behind when he walked out, was buried in my gut, courtesy of the low-life dealer I'd crossed. But it was my sister's whispered tip-off that sealed the deal. And just like that, as the sirens wailed in the distance, everything went black until it didn't. And I woke up gasping in my 16-year-old body, staring at the cracked ceiling of the trailer park home I'd fought so hard to escape. The divorce papers were still fresh on the kitchen table, ink barely dry, and Mom was packing suitcases for her and Lily, my little sister, while Dad loomed in the doorway, keys to his truck jingling like a death knell for what was left of us. I was Sophia then, still am, I guess, the middle kid nobody wanted, the one they left to rot in the Rust Belt ghost town of Joliet, Illinois, because I was too much trouble, too angry, too much like the mess they both created. But this time, I remember every betrayal, every lie that led to that alley. And as my heart hammered in my chest like a war drum, I knew they don't get to forget. Not anymore. The air in that cramped trailer smelled like stale coffee and regret, the kind that clings to yellowed curtains and linoleum floors worn thin from too many fights. I bolted upright in my twin bed, the springs creaking under me like they were protesting the impossible. My hands smaller, smoother, unscarred by the bar fights and factory shifts of my 20s, flew to my stomach.
Non haizkund.
No sticky warmth of blood seeping through a threadbare t-shirt. Just the faded pink pajamas I'd outgrown but Mom refused to replace because money's tight. Sophomore, money's tight. That was the refrain of my first life. The one that ended with me penniless and paranoid, ODing on the fentanyl-laced pills my brother, Ethan, had sworn were clean. But no, that wasn't the end. The knife was. The dealer with the snake tattoo snaking up his neck, courtesy of a grudge I'd nursed since high school. And Lily's sweet, wide-eyed Lily, slipping him my location via a burner phone because she needed cash for her fresh start in the city. Family, right? I swung my legs over the bed, bare feet hitting the cold floor, and padded to the door. Voices filtered through the thin walls, Mom's shrill cadence, Dad's gravelly rumble. It was June 2008, the summer before senior year, and the world was about to crack open like an overripe peach. Barack Obama was on every TV screen, promising hope in a country teetering on recession. But in our corner of the American dream, hope was just another four-letter word. Sophia Marie, get your ass in here. Mom's voice sliced through the morning haze. I froze. The nickname Marie hitting like a slap, the middle name she'd given me after her own mother. The one she'd abandoned in a nursing home back in Gary, Indiana.
Fitting.
I pushed open the door, stepping into the kitchen where the fluorescent light buzzed like a swarm of angry bees. Mom, Karen, though she'd always hated the name, said it made her sound like a soccer mom from hell, was slamming drawers, her peroxide blonde hair tied back in a sloppy ponytail. Lily hovered nearby, all of 12 and already practicing that doe-eyed innocence that would one day buy her a one-way ticket to my grave. Dad, Rick, the king of broken promises, leaned against the counter, arms crossed over his bare gut, watching the chaos unfold like it was a bad episode of Jerry Springer. What's all the yelling for at 7 a.m.? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt.
Inside.
My mind was a hurricane, timelines overlapping, memories bleeding into the present. In my first life, I'd yelled back, thrown a plate, the one with the chip from Ethan's toddler tantrum, and that was the spark. Child services got involved, whispers of unstable home, and poof, I was the problem child shuttled off to foster care while the golden kids got scooped up. This time, I swallowed it. Smiled. Even. Morning. Everyone. Mom paused, a half-folded sweater in her hands, and eyed me like I'd grown a second head. Well, look at you, Miss Sunshine. Sleep okay?
Yeah.
Weird dream. That's all. I slid into a chair, grabbing a box of off-brand Cocoa Puffs. The milk was souring in the fridge, another casualty of Dad's I'll pay the bills next week routine, but I poured it anyway, watching the cereal bob like drowned soldiers. Dad grunted, scratching at his 5 o'clock shadow that started at noon. We need to talk.
Soft.
About. Arrangements. Arrangements. The word tasted like ash. In my head, I saw the courtroom 6 months from now. Judge Harlan, with his hawkish nose and gavel that cracked like thunder, dividing us up like property at a foreclosure auction. Mom gets Lily, the baby girl who could do no wrong. Dad gets Ethan, the son to carry on the family name, or whatever passed for legacy in a line of auto workers and barflies.
Me?
I get the eviction notice and a bus ticket to nowhere. But I knew the secret now. The one buried under layers of denial and domestic bliss facades. Dad's side hustle wasn't just overtime at the plant, it was skimming parts, fencing them to chop shops in Chicago. And when the feds came knocking in my first life, he pinned it on me, the angry teen with a record for shoplifting candy bars at 13. Juvenile. Sure, but enough to make me the fall guy. Mom knew. Of course. She'd covered for him before, back when they were married, and the bruises on her arms matched the ones on my heart. I know, I said softly, spoon midway to my mouth. They both turned, brows furrowed. Lily peeked from behind Mom's leg, her pigtails askew. You know what? Dad asked, suspicion creeping into his tone. I set the spoon down, meeting his eyes, those same eyes Ethan would inherit, the ones that lied so easily. About the divorce. About who's going where. It's okay, Dad. Really? Mom let out a breath she didn't know she was holding, folding the sweater with renewed vigor. Good. Because Lily and I were heading to my sister's in Evanston. Fresh start. You know, better schools. Evanston. The leafy suburb where lily-white dreams bloomed on manicured lawns. In my first life, I'd visited once. An awkward holiday where Aunt Deb eyed me like a stray dog. Lily thrived there, straight A's, cheer squad, the works. Until she spiraled in college, chasing highs to match the high life, and dragged me down with her. And Ethan and I, Dad continued, clapping a hand on my shoulder that felt like lead, will bunk with your Uncle Mike and Aurora. He's got space in the basement. Boy needs a man's guidance. Ethan, all of 14 and already sneaking smokes from Dad's pack. Destined for juvie by 17 in my memories. But guidance? Please. Dad's idea of fatherhood was teaching him how to hotwire a Chevy. I nodded, forcing a lump down my throat. Sounds fair. What about me? The room went still. Mom busied herself with the coffee pot. Dad stared at his boots. Lily whispered, Sophie gets to stay here?
No.
Honey, Mom said too quickly. Sophia's. She's tough. She'll figure it out. Community college. Maybe a job at the mall.
Tough.
That's what they called it when they left a 16-year-old to fend for herself in a town where the factories were shuttering faster than the hopes of the steelworkers' kids. In my first life, I did figure it out. Waitress doubles. Crashed on friends' couches. Got that associates in criminal justice because why not turn pain into a badge? Joined the force. Climbed to detective. Until the corruption. Dad's old crew. Now in badges. Framed me for taking bribes. And Lily's call to the dealer? That was her helping Ethan pay off a debt he'd racked up fencing Dad's retirement fund. This time, I wouldn't climb. I'd burn it down. That afternoon, after they'd loaded the cars, Mom's beat up Accord with Lily's Barbies spilling from the back, Dad's F-150 hauling Ethan's gaming console like it was the Ark of the Covenant, I stood on the sagging porch, waving goodbye. The sun dipped low over the rusted silos, painting the sky in bruised purples and oranges. The kind of Midwest sunset that promised tomorrow but delivered squat. As their taillights faded down Route 53, I slipped inside, locked the door, and pulled out Dad's lockbox from under the kitchen sink. Combination, July 4th, 76. The day Ethan was born. Inside, cash $3,000 in hundreds, rubber banded like dirty secrets, and a ledger. Scribbled entries of parts sold, dates,
Buyers. Proof.
the kind that could send Rick Grayson to Supermax. But not yet. Revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon through hell, and I had 10 years to run it. First stop, the public library in town, where the computers were free and the Wi-Fi spotty but sufficient. I Googled Emancipation of Minors, Illinois, my fingers flying over keys that felt foreign in these young hands. By midnight, I'd filed the paperwork online, citing parental abandonment and attaching scans of the divorce decree I'd swiped from Mom's purse. Next morning, I walked into Joliet West High, backpack slung over one shoulder, and signed up for every AP class they offered. Valedictorian in my first life? Sure. But I dropped out after the arrest. This time, I'd graduate with honors. Scholarships lining up like dominoes. And while I studied, call Aunt Deb. Play the concerned niece. Fish for details on Mom's new life. Text Ethan on his flip phone. Be the big sis he pretended to need. But the real game started with the shadows. That night, as lightning cracked over the trailer park, I stared at the ceiling again, replaying the alley. The dealer's face, Marco Ruiz, grinning as the blade twisted. Your sister's got a mouth on her. Lily had sold me out for $500. Enough for a semester's rent in her overpriced Lincoln Park apartment. Ethan? He'd watched the whole thing from across the street, too strung out to intervene. Dad's blood money burning holes in his veins.
It rolled over, punching the pillow.
Sleep came fitful. Dreams of family photos we'd burned in the backyard fire pit. When I woke, the plan crystallized. I'd build them up, watch them shine, then pull the rug. Mom would get her real estate license, flip houses in the suburbs. Dad would go straight, open a garage with Uncle Mike. Lily, sorority girl, law school bound. Ethan, tech whiz, coding apps in Silicon Valley knockoffs. And me, the ghost in the machine, whispering doubts, planting seeds of ruin. First seed, anonymous tip to the plant's HR about Dad's side gig. Not enough to bust him, just enough to get him audited. Force the fresh start. I used a payphone at the truck stop. Voice modulator app on my ancient laptop. Rick Grayson's been fencing parts. Check the logs. By week's end, Dad called. Voice tight. Soph, You okay out there? Peachy.
Dad.
Why? Just.
Stuff at work.
Listen. If you need anything, I need you to be careful, I said.
Sweet as pie.
Family sticks together, right? He chuckled, uneasy.
Yeah. Kid.
Yeah.
Click.
Seed planted. High school was a pressure cooker of hormones and heartbreak. The kind where cliques formed like storm clouds and rumors spread faster than HPV in the locker room. But for me, it was reconnaissance. I navigated the halls of Joliet West like a spy in enemy territory, notebook in hand, not for calculus notes, but for mapping the fractures in my family's facade. Lily texted sporadically, fat-thumbed messages on her new Nokia. Miss you, Soph. School sucks here, LOL. Attached pics of her uniform, pleated skirt and all, against backdrops of Lake Michigan. I replied with emojis, hearts and thumbs up, while mentally cataloging her insecurities, the slight overbite she hated, the way she'd twirl her hair when nervous. In my first life, those became weapons, her sorority sisters mocking the trailer trash lisp, pushing her toward the party scene where pills flowed like punch. Ethan was easier. Boys like him wore their vulnerabilities on their sleeves, or, in this case, the fresh burn mark from Dad's cigarette when he disciplined him for sneaking out. I drove the hour to Aurora on weekends, borrowing the neighbor's rusted Civic after sweet-talking Mrs. Kowalski with promises of yard work. Tell Rick I'm studying, I'd say, and she'd nod, eyes soft with her own divorce scars. Aurora was a step up from Joliet, cookie-cutter colonials, and a mall that boasted a real Gap, but Uncle Mike's place smelled like motor oil and microwave burritos. Ethan greeted me at the door, gangly limbs and a forced grin.
Soph.
Dude, you look taller? Lies. I laughed, ruffling his hair. He ducked, but not before I saw the flicker. Gratitude mixed with the wariness of a kid who'd learned love came with strings. We'd binge on pizza and PlayStation, me letting him win at Halo just enough to build trust. Dad's being a dick about curfew, he'd mutter during loading screens. Says I'm gonna end up like you, if I don't shape up. Like me? I echoed,
Pausing the game.
What's that supposed to mean? He shrugged, picking at a pepperoni. You know. Alone. Angry. The word angry landed like a gut punch, but I played it cool. Hey, angry's not bad. It's fuel. Used it to get this far, didn't I? In truth, anger had been my Achilles heel. Fueled the shoplifting, the bar brawls, the blind trust in family when they deserve none.
But now?
It was precision-guided. That night, as Ethan snored on the pull-out couch, I slipped into Dad's office, a corner of the garage stacked with toolboxes and tax forms. The ledger was gone, replaced by a shiny new one, entries neat as a nun's habit. But I found the old one, tucked behind a stack of Penthouse magazines. More proof, dates overlapping with my first life's frame job, names of cops on the take. I snapped photos with my flip phone, emailed them to a burner Gmail. Step 2. Infiltrate. Back at the trailer, I juggled shifts at the local Dairy Queen, twisty cones and blizzard brains for minimum wage, while cramming for the SAT. Scores came back, 1480. Enough for Northwestern on partial scholarship, but I aimed lower. State schools with work study. No need to shine too bright yet. Mom called every Sunday, her voice tinny through the landline. How's the place holding up? Soph? Any leaks? None, I'd lie. ignoring the drip in the bathroom that sounded like Morse code for abandonment. We chat about Lily's ballet recital, how she was blossoming.
Іди ku appropriateli.
Then drop the hook. Her dad's got some work drama. Everything cool. A pause. Always a pause. Oh, you know Rick. Always in hot water. But we're family, right? We look out.
Family.
The word was a curse. Summer blurred into fall, leaves turning the Will County backroads into fire hazards. I volunteered at the community center, resume builder. Sure. But really to network.
Met Carla Ruiz.
Marco's aunt, the one who'd run the after-school program since the 90s. No snake tattoos on her. Just laugh lines and a penchant for tamales. Sophia. Mija. You got fire in you. Don't let this town snuff it. If only she knew. Marco was still a kid then. 12 and tagging walls in Pilsen. But the seed was there, the family ties that would one day choke me. I befriended her. Brought tamales to potlucks. Listened to stories of her nephew's wild streak. Knowledge is power. And I filed it away. Marco's dad deported. Mom working doubles. Resentment brewing like bad moonshine. By Thanksgiving, the family's orbit pulled us back together. Aunt Deb's in Evanston. Turkey the size of a Buick.
Cranberry sauce from a can.
I arrived last. Hair blown out straight, a far cry from the frizzy mess of my youth, in thrift store jeans that hugged like they cost a Benjamin. Mom hugged me stiffly. Perfume cloying. You look mature. Life does that, I quipped, scanning the room. Lily, now in braces, chattered about friends with names like Madison and Taylor. Ethan slouched in, taller than Dad, eyes darting to the TV where the Bears were fumbling another season. Dad clapped me on the back. Proud of you.
Kid.
Straight A's. All of them. Lie number 2. I'd tanked one history quiz on purpose. Couldn't afford suspicion. Dinner was a minefield. Small talk over stuffing. Probing questions about my plans. Community college, I said. Forking mashed potatoes. Then maybe the academy. Like that show. The Closer. Mom's eyes lit up. Police?
Oh.
Soft.
That's
ambitious. Or crazy, Dad muttered, washing down turkey with Coors Light. Streets are mean, I smiled, teeth gritted. I can handle mean. Later, as pie was served, Lily pulled me aside in the powder room. Sophie, is it true you're living alone? Like, no parents?
Yep.
Emancipated. It's freeing. Her eyes widened, a mix of awe and envy.
Cool. But
scary, terrifying, I admitted, brushing her bangs. In my mind, I saw her at 22. Mascara streaked in that apartment.
Daieling Marco.
But you get used to it. Stick close to family.
Lil.
They keep you grounded. She nodded, hugging me tight. Seed 3, dependency. That night, driving back through the tollway's sodium glow, I pulled over at a rest stop, pulled out the laptop. Anonymous post on a local forum. Heard Rick G. from Joliet's fencing again. Watch your backs. Plant workers. With a link to blurred ledger pics. The fallout hit Dad like a freight train. Calls from HR. A suspension without pay. He showed up at the trailer unannounced. Face red as the devil's ass. Soph. You hear anything? Weird shit online. I brewed coffee. calm as a monk. Like what? Accusations. Lies. He paced, boots thudding. If you know something, Dad, I'd tell you.
Lie.
But I slid him an envelope, $2,000 from my DQ tips. For the bills. Family helps family. He took it, eyes wet. You're a good kid.
Soft.
Better than us. As he left, I whispered to the empty room. That's the point. Winter clamped down. Snow piling like unpaid debts. I aced midterms. Landed an internship at the county prosecutor's office, filing clerk. But close enough to sniff the rot. Saw names from Dad's ledger. Assistant DA Harlan. The judge for my trial. Golfing with chop shop owners. Notes taken. Files copied. Ethan visited more. Escaping Dad's moods. We talked dreams. Him coding video games.
Me solving crime.
You're the smart one, he said once. Over hot chocolate at the diner's counter. Why'd they leave you? I stirred sugar I didn't need. Because smart scares people. Makes them face their own messes. He nodded.
Too young to unpack it.
But I saw the crack, resentment toward Dad's rages.
Mauvaise absence.
In my first life, it turned him to dealing. Small time until Dad's debts swallowed him. This time, I'd nurture it, subtle nudges toward scholarships. Away from the garage. Spring brought cherry blossoms to Evanston. And Mom's invite to Lily's birthday. 13 now. Braces off. Awkward limbs stretching into grace. The party was a spectacle. Bounce house in the yard. Cake from Jewelosco towering with fondant roses. I arrived with a gift, a locket. Engraved Sisters Forever, and watched Lily beam as she opened it. Mom pulled me into the kitchen. Wine glass in hand. Sophia.
Listen.
Ricks. Struggling. The suspension. If you could. Talk to him. I finished. Chopping veggies for salad. Mom. He's a grown man.
She sighed.
Eyes glassy. I know what he did. Back then. The skimming. But he was providing. For who? Us? Or his ego? The word slipped. Sharper than intended. Her face crumpled. You sound just like your grandmother. Always judging. Maybe because there's something to judge. I softened, handing her a carrot stick. But hey, water under the bridge. Lily's happy. That's what matters. Seed 4, guilt. That summer, I turned 17, legal to work nights. DQ promoted me to shift lead.
Tippstöbling.
I bought a used Prius, gas sipper for stakeouts, and tailed Dad to his meetings. Caught him with Marco's uncle, a mid-level fence named Tito, handing off alternators in a Kmart lot. Photo evidence. Time-stamped. But revenge simmered. Not boiled. I enrolled at UIC that fall. Dorms in the city. Close to the Viper's Nest. Commuter rail became my vein. Pulsing with commuters nursing hangovers and hidden sins. First semester, poli-sci. Psych. Intro to criminology. Professor Hale, a ex-cop with a limp from a 90s bust,
Pulled me aside after class.
Grayson, as in Rick. I froze. Cousin. Distant. He nodded. Slow. Good family stock.
Then.
Stay clean.
Clean.
The irony burned. But Hale became a mentor, feeding me case files on corruption. I devoured them, cross-referencing with Dad's ledger. Patterns emerged, a web from Joliet to Chicago PD. Harlan at the center. Meanwhile, family updates. Lily aced middle school. Ethan built his first app, a dumb calculator. But Dad bragged like it was the next Facebook. Mom sold her first house, a fixer-upper in Rogers Park. I sent cards, Venmoed allowances from my internship pay. The good daughter. Until Halloween, when Ethan called, voice cracking. Soft. Dad hit me. For real this time. Broke my rib. I drove through the night. Snow flurries whipping the windshield. Found him in the ER. Ice packed to his side. Eyes hollow. Dad was in the hall, reeking of Jack, arguing with the nurse. Get in the car, I told Ethan, signing him out against Doc's advice. We crashed at my dorm, him on the futon, me pacing. Why'd you take it? I asked, bandaging his ribs.
He's stressed.
The job, they fired him. Says it's my fault. For being a disappointment. Disappointment. The family curse. You're not. Pack your shit. You're with me. But.
Now. He did.
I filed for custody. Emancipated minor guardianships are tricky. But with Ethan's bruises and my straight-edge record, the judge signed off. Dad raged via voicemail. You stole my boy. You ungrateful bitch. I deleted it. Blocked the number. Seed 5. Isolation. College was a pressure valve release. The city a concrete jungle where I could prowl unseen. UIC's campus sprawled like a concrete labyrinth. Lake Street L trains rumbling overhead like the pulse of forgotten ambitions. I shared a double with a girl named Priya, bio major from Naperville. All optimism and organic smoothies. She thought my late nights were study sessions. I let her. Because the truth, scrolling dark web forums for leads on Marco's crew, would have sent her running. Ethan settled in, crashing on my futon between classes at community college. He coded furiously. Apps for tracking bus routes. Nothing revolutionary, but enough to snag a grant from a Chicago tech incubator. This is for you. Soft, he'd say, hugging me awkward. For taking the hit.
Hit.
If only he knew the hits I'd taken, the literal one in that alley. The metaphorical ones from blood that ran thinner than rainwater. I thrived academically. Hale's recommendations landing me an undergrad research gig on white-collar crime. Thesis topic: familial ties in organized theft rings. Subtle.
Right?
I poured Dad's secrets into it. Anonymized. Of course. Published in an undergrad journal. Cited by profs who had no clue the case study was my DNA. Family contact. Curated. Mom got weekly calls. Updates on Ethan's progress. Lily's high school drama forwarded via group chat. I played the rock. The one who didn't crack. But cracks were there. Nightmares of the knife. Waking sweat-soaked. Priya's concerned you okay echoing. Sophomore year. Twist 1. Lily's rebellion. She showed up at my dorm unannounced. Duffel in hand. Eyes red-rimmed. 16 now. Piercings in her nose. Hair dyed electric blue. Mom's dating this asshole. Controls everything. I can't breathe. I let her in. Prevetea tamomila. Her favorite from kid days. What happened? Found texts. He's married. And Mom knew. She curled on the futon. Knees to chest. Why do they do this? Lie. Because lying's easier than loving. I wanted to say. Instead, people fuck up. But you're out now. Stay here. She did. Enrolling at UIC's community outreach program. We became roommates of circumstance. Late night talks over ramen about boys and betrayals. Lily opened up. Mom's rages after the divorce. How she'd scream, "You'll end up like Sophia," as a threat. I filed it. Another layer. Dad? Radio silence after the custody win. Until a collect call from Cook County Jail. VOP. Violation of probation. On old theft charges I'd anonymously resurfaced. Soph? It's me. They say I skipped a meeting. But I didn't. You did, I said flatly. Speakerphone on so Lily could hear. Because you're sloppy, Dad. Always have been. Silence. Then a sob. Help me, kid. For old times. Old times are why you're there. I hung up, heart pounding. Controversial decision 1. No bail. Let him rot a month. Emerge humbler. He did. Calling again post-release. I'm clean.
Swear.
Got a job at a muffler shop. Legit. Good, I said. Prove it. He tried weekly AA meetings. Child support checks rubber-banded with apology notes. I cashed them. Framed the notes. Evidence of change. Or manipulation. Time would tell. Marco entered the picture sophomore spring. I'd kept tabs via Carla. He was 19, fresh out of juvie for boosting cars. Working at Tito's auto yard. I bumped into him at a block party in Pilsen. Me in cut-off shorts and a white socks tee. Volunteering with the community center. Sophia.
Right?
Aunt C's favorite. Marco, I said, shaking his hand, calloused.
Inked.
Heard you're turning it around. He grinned, gold tooth flashing.
Trying.
Tito's got me on the straight and narrow. We talked surface stuff. Cars. The Cubs curse. I laughed at his jokes. Touched his arm once.
Twice.
Flirtation as foreplay for the con. By summer. We were dating. Tacos at Big Star. Walks along the lake where the city lights danced on waves like fallen stars. Ethan hated it. He's trouble.
Soph.
Eyes like a shark. Jealous. I teased, but noted it. Seed 6. Protectiveness. Lily crushed on him too, innocent. Sisterly, but Marco's gaze lingered. Predatory. I let it. Watched him slip, a baggie of Xanny in his glove box during a drive to Starved Rock. For headaches, he claimed. Headaches from what? I pressed. Casual. Life.
Chica.
You know. I did. And when he ghosted for a week, family stuff, I knew, a score gone south. Tailed him to a warehouse in Little Village. Snapped pics of him fencing tires stamped with Joliet Plan Inc. Dad's Inc. Post-release. Twist 2. Dad wasn't clean. He'd relapsed. Pulling Ethan in unknowingly, my brother mentioning helping at the shop too often. I confronted Dad over coffee at a Denny's off I-80. Fluorescent lights harsh on his sallow skin. Marco Ruiz, I said, sliding printouts across the Formica. Tito's yard. Your parts. His fork paused midair. Eggs runny. Soph. It's not. Save it. You're dragging Ethan down again. He deflated. Fork clattering. Needed the cash. For you kids. Debts from jail. Debts you made. I leaned in. Voice low. Cut it. Or I go to Hale. He's got friends in the DA's office. Eyes wide. He knew Hale's rep. You wouldn't. Try me. Controversial decision 2. Extortion. But it worked. Dad ghosted Tito. Went full legit. Even enrolled in night classes for bookkeeping. Marco noticed the chill. What's with the old man? Family drama, I shrugged, pulling him close in the sand at Montrose Beach. Let's not talk about it. We didn't. Instead, I fed him just enough, stories of my rough upbringing, hints of cash flow issues, to make him bite. By junior year, he proposed a business, me as lookout for a chop shop run. Easy money, baby. For us.
Us.
The lie tasted sweet. Maybe, I said, playing coy. Lily walked in on us once.
Post-makeout.
Her face flushing.
Groß. Soft. He's.
Intense. Jealousy doesn't suit you, Lil. But I saw the seed sprout. Doubt. Graduation loomed. Cap and gown a shield. I landed a fellowship at the Chicago PD's community outreach. Ironic. Given my endgame while prepping for the academy. Ethan transferred to DePaul. App now monetized. Pulling 5 figures. Lily declared psych major. Therapy her calling. To fix families like ours.
Ours.
The word bound us. Even as I plotted its unraveling. Senior prank week. I hacked the university server, basic script. Nothing fancy, and leaked anonymized alumni donation records. Buried in it, Harlan's shell company ties to chop shops. The press ate it up. UIC expose rocks local elite. Hale clapped me on the back. You're doing? Coincidence, I winked. Fallout rippled. Harlan resigned. Scandal staining his robes. Dad called.
Panicked.
They mention the plant. Not yet.
Pause.
But they will. If you slip.
He didn't.
But Marco did. Pressured me harder for the job.
Small. Soft.
Tito's offering $20K upfront. $20K. The price of my first life. Deal, I said. Heart steel. The heist, a semi full of Navistar engines. Parked at a rest stop near Elwood. Me and the Trilene. Walkie crackling. Marco and Tito jacked it smooth. But I called it in anonymous. From a burner. Theft in progress. 55 mile 250. Sirens wailed as they loaded the last crate.
Marco Boltith.
Tito cuffed on sight. I slipped away. Prius purring into the night. Marco confronted me days later. At my apartment, Lily out. Ethan studying. Bruised knuckles. Eyes wild. You set us up? Prove it.
I stood firm. Door half open.
He lunged. Hand to my throat. Echo of the alley.
Bitch.
I need him. Years of self-defense paying off. He crumpled. Gasping. Get out. Or I scream. He left. Cursing in Spanish. But the seed bloomed. Vendetta.
Postgrad.
The world sharpened into edges. Badge on my hip. The weight of it both anchor and noose. Chicago PD's academy was a gauntlet. PT at dawn. Simonitions that left welts like love bites. Lectures on procedure from instructors who'd bent more rules than they enforced. I graduated top of my class. Hale's letter in my file. Assigned to District 12 in the shadow of the United Center. Sophia Grayson, my 2.
SGT.
Ramirez. Grunted on day 1. Handing me a radio. Don't make me regret the pretty face. Pretty face. It opened doors and throats. I patrolled the near west side, responding to domestics where fists flew like confetti. Domestics that mirrored my childhood too closely. Each call was therapy. each arrest a brick in the wall. Family flourished under my invisible hand. Ethan's app went viral, ETH-Track, for gig workers dodging traffic, VC funding from Sandberg investors. Silicon Alley buzz. He moved to a loft in Wicker Park. Bought me a leather jacket for my birthday. For the badass cop sis. Lily interned at a crisis center. Her blue hair traded for professional bob. Brace is a memory. I'm gonna help people like us.
Soft.
Broken homes. Us, I echoed. Clinking wine glasses at Giordano's. Mom joined sometimes. Her realty business booming. McMansions in Naperville. Commissions fat as her new Mercedes. Dad? Steady at the muffler shop. Even dated a widow from church. AA chips piled like poker winnings. I attended reunions. Ethan's launch party. All craft IPAs and TED Talk vibes. Lily's graduation. Air hugs and air kisses. Posed for pics. Instagram perfect. Captions like family first blessed. Lies layered thick as Chicago fog. But Marco simmered. Whispers from informants. Ruiz out on bond. Running small crews. Grudge against that cop bitch. I upped my vigilance. Pepper spray in the glove box. Routes varied, but invited the shadow. Controversial decision 3. Bait. One night. Post-shift. I forgot my route. Swung by a dive on Division, the same breed as the one where I died. Marco was there, nursing a malort, eyes locking on mine across the sticky bar. Sophia, he drawled, sliding a stool. Slumming. Looking for you.
Bold.
But calculated. We talked or pretended. His hand on my knee. My laugh too bright. Tito's doing 5, he said. You owe me. Oh. I arched a brow. For what? That night. The call. His grip tightened. Knew it was you. I pulled away. But not far. Prove it. Then what? Then we settle. He leaned in, breath hot with wormwood. Family style.
Family.
The hook sank deep. I left him hard, but slipped my number on a napkin. Call when you're ready. He did. Weeks later, meet me. Warehouse on Halstead. Midnight. Trap or truce? I went armed.
Vest under jacket.
Backup looped in silent. But no bust. This was personal. The warehouse loomed, chain link rattling in wind off the rail yards. Marco waited inside, shadows pooling like oil. Came alone, trust issues. I scanned. No crew. Just crates stamped Joliet, Dad's old ghosts. He circled. Slow. You think you're smart. Grayson. Digging up dirt. Fucking my uncle. But blood's thicker. Blood. I laughed. Bitter. Ask my family about that. He lunged, not with a blade, but fists. Rage-fueled. I dodged. Radioed quiet. Back up.
Now.
We grappled. His tattooed arms pinning me to concrete. Knee to my ribs. For Tito, he snarled. Crack, my elbow to his jaw. He reeled. And sirens pierced the night. Cuffed. Bleeding from lip. He spat. Your sister's next. She talks too much. Lily. The pieces slammed. In my first life. Her tip-off. Here, premonition or plan. I booked him for assault on an officer. Buried the warehouse pics with IA. But sleep evaded. Dreams of blue hair matted red. Next day, I drove to Mom's, now a condo in Lincolnwood. All granite counters and gilt. Found Lily there. packing for a conference.
Soft.
What's up?
Marco.
I said it flat, watching her face.
Pale.
Who? Liar. I grabbed her arm, gentle but firm. What did you tell him? She yanked free.
Tires instants.
Nothing.
He.
Messaged me once.
From a party.
Said you were using him. Using. Projection.
Pure.
And
I.
warned him to be careful.
Sobs now.
I didn't know. Didn't know, I echoed, sinking to the couch. The weight, betrayal budding early. In my first life, it flowered full. Here, I could prune. Stay away, I said. From him. From all of it. She nodded.
Crumbling.
Seed 7. Fear. Ethan's rise accelerated. Keynote at Tech Week. Features in cranes. He proposed buying the old trailer, turning it into a legacy foundation for at-risk kids. Our story.
Soft.
From nothing to something. I smiled for the cameras, but inside, irony's knife. The foundation funded coding camps, mentors from reformed backgrounds. I volunteered, teaching ethics modules laced with my subtext. Dad retired early, arthritis from years wrenching, moved to a bungalow in Blue Island, fishing the little Calumet. He called weekly, voice softer, miss my girl. Proud. Though. Proud. I repeated.
Gut twisting.
Controversial decision 4. Forgiveness faint. I visited. Brought bourbon his weakness. But decoy non-alcoholic. We fished.
Talked baseball.
Him confessing. I fucked up.
Soft.
Leaving you. Thought you'd be tougher. I was. Past tense. Deliberate. Fall turned to winter. My promotion to detective looming.
Hale Pulitzi-trinks.
Got me on vice, narcotics. The vein to my end. Informants chattered. Marco out again. Plotting with ex-cons. Lily distanced. Therapy intensives. Ethan oblivious in his penthouse. Climax brewed at Christmas. Full family dinner at Ethan's loft. Skyline twinkling like a taunt. Mom in cashmere. Dad in a polo 2 sizes small. Lily tipsy on eggnog. Ethan carving prime rib. I arrived last. Gift-wrapped ledger. The original. Laundered through anonymous source to the feds years back. Now, just paper. To us, Ethan toasted. Survivors. Glasses clinked. But mine sweated in my palm. As dessert hit, tiramisu layered like lies, my phone buzzed. Anonymous text.
Alley. Now. Hors spi. Marco.
I excused. Bathroom. Slipped out. Uber to Wicker Park. Heart jackhammer. The alley, that alley, rain slicked again. Dumpsters reeking of regret. He waited. Knife glinting. Dad's knife. Stolen from the bungalow. Round 2. You brought family heirloom? I drew my service piece. Steady. Classy. He charged. Blade arcing. I fired, leg shot. Policy perfect. He dropped. Howling. Backup swarmed. Lights strobing. Lily, I demanded. Cuffing him. He laughed. Blood bubbling. She called. Said you're the monster. Always were. Backup hauled him. I puked in the rain. Monster. Echoed. Back at the loft. Family oblivious. Where were you? Mom asked. Work. Lie, eternal. But the twist whispered. Lily's phone. Later seized in evidence. Text to Marco, Soft's obsessed. Digging into Dad. Help. Help. Betrayal. Version 2.0. The new year dawned crisp. Chicago's wind off the lake carving canyons in the snowdrifts along Michigan Avenue. Marco's arrest made the Trib's blotter. Ex-con assaults detective in gang-related stabbing attempt, but the texts buried under insufficient evidence of conspiracy.
Inteligência artificial clareou-me.
Shot ruled good. But the stain lingered. Family complicity. A cancer I'd ignored too long. I confronted Lily at her therapist's office, waiting in the lobby with coffee gone cold. She emerged, coat buttoned wrong, eyes puffy. Soft, what's, drive. No room for debate. We ended up at the Adler Planetarium. Empty winter, lot overlooking the frozen waves. The city a distant constellation of sins. Texts, I said, thrusting printouts.
To him.
Why? She scanned, crumpled. I was scared.
You.
You're different. Always watching, asking questions. Like you know things you shouldn't.
Ido.
The confession bubbled. First life spilling, the divorce, the abandonment, the frame, the alley. Not all, not the death, but enough. You left me to drown.
Lil.
All of you. Tears froze on her cheeks. We were kids. Mom said you'd be fine. Strong like Grandma. Strong. I laughed. Hollow. Strong enough to cover your messes? She reached, but I recoiled.
I'm sorry.
Therapy's helping. Save it. Controversial Decision 5. Severance. Go back to Mom. Or Ethan. But not me. She left sobbing. I sat till dark. Stars wheeling overhead like indifferent gods. Work consumed. Vice desk raids on fentanyl labs. Each bust a exorcism. Hale mentored still. Over burgers at Billy Goat. You're burning bright.
Kid.
Don't supernova. Too late. Ethan's IPO loomed. Ethtrack valued at 50 mil. Champagne toasts in the loop. He begged me to MC. My rock. Sophomore. I did. Suit tailored sharp. Speech laced with subtext. From trailers to triumph. But success? It's lonely. Ghosts follow. Crowd chuckled. Family beamed from front row. Dad pulled me aside post-party. Cigar smoke curling. That about me? About us. I handed him the ledger. Full. Unredacted. Feds have copies. Your call. Confess. Or wait for the knock. His face ashen. Sophia. Why? Because monsters teach lessons. I walked, leaving him in the valet line. Mom called next. Hysterical. Rick's turning himself in. Embezzlement. They say. From the new shop. Consequences, I said. Voice steel. You pushed him. Accusation sharp.
No.
He pushed himself. Hung up.
Blocked.
Ethan confronted via email. Walls of text. Hurt bleeding pixels. What the fuck? Soph? Dad's crumbling. Lily's a mess. Mom's spiraling. You're doing? Yes.
Truth.
Unvarnished. Because you all did it to me. Left me alone to build you up. Then tore it down.
Reply none.
Spring thawed the ice. But not the rift. I made detective.
Gold shield heavy.
Cases stacking. Corruption probes. Hale's old foes. Harlan indicted. Plea deal for names. Tito's among them. Marco flipping for reduced time.
Lily attend peut-être suicide pile.
Mom's medicine cabinet. I got the call at 3 a.m. Raced to Northwestern Memorial. Found her tubed.
Pale.
Ethan pacing hall. She left a note, he whispered. Blames herself. For everything. Everything.
Iset vitil.
Hand in hers. Machines beeping like accusations. Dawn broke. She woke groggy. Soft. Here.
No anger.
Just ache. Forgive.
Croak.
Not yet. But maybe. Controversial decisions 6, Mercy. Ethan joined. Truce fragile. We fucked up. All of us. You think. Sarcasm shield. He hugged. Awkward. Rebuild? Foundation's yours if you want. I took it, not for glory, but anchor. Turned ETHTRAC's charity arm into anti-corruption advocacy. Funding for kids like me. Legal aid. Therapy. Escape hatches. Dad's sentencing, 5 years. Federal pen in Terre Haute. I visited once. Plexiglass between. His orange jump reflecting regret. Proud still. Complicated.
Pause.
Right, Ethan. Be better. He nodded. Love you. Kid. Love's earned. Left without looking back. Mom sold the condo. Moved to Florida, fresh air. Sent postcards. And signed. I burned them. Summer solstice. I stood in that Wicker Park alley. Plaque now, in memory of lost potential. Not for me, for the ghosts. Marco's trial, 25. Conspiracy. He glared from the dock. Family wins. Ha! Define win. Testified clean. Walked out to rain, cleansing. Finally.
Twist final. Automne equinox.
Positive test in my bathroom. 2 lines. Pink promise. Ethan's? No, a one-night stand with a fellow detective. Fleeting as hope. But it shifted. Not alone anymore. I told the family fractured now. But mending. Dinner at the loft. No toast. Just truth. Lily. Sober 6 months. Hand on my belly. Auntie Lil. Ethan. App empire humbled by ethical pivots.
Grand.
Uncle code.
Mom via Zoom.
Tanned and tentative. Grandma. Dad's letter arrived. Congrats?
Saf. TH instrentring.
The real kind. I did. Born September 2025. A girl, Marie. Middle name reclaimed. We raised her in the city. Trailer stories as cautionary. Not curses. I quit Vice for cold cases. Closing loops for the betrayed. Revenge? Not ashes. But fertilizer. They rebuilt under my gaze, not puppetry. But partnership. Betrayals scarred. But healed crooked. Stronger. In the end, I decided their futures. Not ruin, but redemption.
Mine.
The mirror showed a woman. Not girl, eyes sharp, but soft at edges. The alley faded, replaced by playgrounds and first steps. Hook closed. I died alone, but lived legion. And in America's heartland grind, that's the real comeback.